Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Captain's Table. I am your host, Captain B-Nard, and topic of discussion today is going to be...
The champ is
Well, not exactly. Um, our topic of discussion today is going to be Pokemon Champions. Had to get the wrestling reference in there. But yes, it is going to be Pokemon Champions, a complete review and reaction to the game by yours truly, of course. We're going to go over everything, all the mixed thoughts and feelings that I have about this game, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah, that is the game plan as per the usual. We are going to jump right into it here. As all of you well know at this point, Pokemon Champions has been out for quite some time now, about 11 weeks at the time of this recording and release. That is coming up on the 3 month mark, actually, if you can believe it, that this game has been out. Originally, um, I got the game, I would say, probably within the first couple of days of its release. I don't believe I got it on release day, but I did get it not long thereafter, and I have been playing it quite a bit. Since its release, as you guys know, been uploading some Wi-Fi battles, some content as well from the game. I feel like at this point, with us being almost 3 months into the release cycle of the game, I can deliver a relatively well educated opinion on the game at this point. So, as you guys know, I like to kind of um, wait a little bit so the initial feelings and reactions kind of die down so I can give you guys a more measured uh, opinion about things. That is what we're going to do here. So, I will say, as I kind of already alluded to, I have strongly mixed feelings about this game for a variety of different reasons. The first things I want to talk about as far as this game goes are the positives. Positives of this game to me, probably the biggest one I would say is the upgrade in the graphic quality and the upgrade in the battle simulation system that this game has. Even from Scarlet and Violet, which had some pretty nice graphics itself, I will say that this game, in my estimation, is a significant upgrade from even that. So everything looks amazing on this game. The graphics are very clean, the animations are very nice, and visually speaking, it is a very nice game. I will say that. That's probably the biggest positive. Um, Side by side with that, I would say, is probably the Pokemon pool. So obviously, that's a big determining factor on all these games. In the Switch era of Pokemon, as we all know, we don't get every single Pokemon in existence anymore. So a dex must be crafted out of the Pokemon that we have. And so I do think that despite the fact that the dex initially was and still is pretty small for this game, I actually do think they did a pretty good job putting the decks together on this game. There are a lot of cool Pokemon in it. That's a big plus. The return of Mega Evolutions in a player versus player game, that's obviously going to be a big one, and that's a big selling point for most people that play this game. Myself included. So the fact that we finally, since the DS, for the first time since the DS, we have Mega Evolutions that we can use in competitive battling. So that's pretty cool. Um, I am a big fan of that, although some of them, not the healthiest Pokemon in the world for a balanced metagame, but it is cool to have Mega Evolutions back as a whole, I will say that. So there are definitely some positives. Another one I would throw out there real fast, I do like the system in this game about how easy it is to kind of retrain your Pokemon. That is, pretty nice, pretty easy. You don't have to spend a ton of time grinding to be able to like retrain your Pokemon, that kind of thing. So that's not too bad. But that is going to kind of feed into the first negative about that I have about the game, and that there will be many of them. Trust me. So that kind of ties into the first negative, which is um, obviously time investment on this game. So, as you guys know, there's not a lot to this game to do other than battling. There's really essentially nothing to do with this game other than battling. It's a battle only game. And so the amount of time that you have to spend grinding to acquire resources in Pokemon is quite high in my opinion. So for those of you who don't know, you don't get to catch Pokemon. You don't get to train Pokemon in the traditional sense. You pretty much have to grind for resources by doing competitive battles. And while that in and of itself is not terrible, like I said, I like the fact that you can retrain your Pokemon relatively easily. I will say the whole acquiring new Pokemon thing can be quite difficult and quite tedious if you are looking for specific Pokemon. So, um, it costs they have different forms of currency in the game, so as you guys probably all know if you've played the game, they have quick coupons to unlock Pokemon. They have points that you can also spend to unlock Pokemon as well, and then of course you have tickets that you can teammate tickets I should say, that you can recruit Pokemon with or pay points, and then you can also use those points to retrain the Pokemon, or you can use training coupons to train them instead. So um, that's kind of the currency system of the game, and grinding for all those resources to make a lot of teams and a lot of Pokemon, that can be pretty tedious. So the time investment of the game is definitely a bit of a negative for me. It does get very repetitive very quickly. I will say that. So because there's really no variance in what you do, you're either doing 3v3 singles battles or 4v4 doubles battles. Um, it does get tedious, and that's going to feed to the second negative I have to say, which is probably the biggest negative that I have about this game. And I know you all are going to know what I say before I even say it, and that is the fact that there is no 6v6 singles mode on this game for competitive battling. So this was an open question for quite some time. We were told, obviously, when the game released that it wasn't part of it, even before the game released, that it was not going to be initially part of the game. But we weren't sure if it was going to be added to the game at any point. Obviously, there's been a pretty big fan outcry over this because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the first Pokemon game to have like an online competitive mode that does not include 6v6. I mean, I guess if you count Pokemon Unite, which I don't really, um, but because I think that was 5v5, although I've never actually played the game. But yeah, I don't think of any like really mainline Pokemon game, or or anything that had like a true competitive mode to it. I don't think we've ever not had that option, so that kind of stunned a lot of people, myself included. And I will say that at this point, I'm not really stunned that it has not been added to the game, because I've always been of the opinion that if that was something that they wanted to have in this game, it would have been available upon release. And so I have not, nor will I ever have any hope that this game will add 6v6, a 6v6 mode, because it just doesn't seem like that's the direction that they're going in with this game. Um, so yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath for that. I would love it if it did. That would solve a lot of my issue with this game, if they did that. So, but I don't see it happening personally. Um, so that's a big one. Um, Other negatives about the game I have, kind of the overarching purpose of this game for what this um, is kind of a negative to me in a sense, because I'll be honest with you guys, like I've been playing this game for a couple of months now. I've been going through it. I've been going through the motions, grinding, getting my rewards and my in-game currencies and all that. Um, I I don't know. The game does get tiresome quickly, in my opinion. It gets old quickly. Um, it kind of feels like, and this may sound weird coming from me, but it kind of feels like the game really has no heart to it. It kind of just feels like it's an officially licensed version of Pokemon Showdown. That's really what this game kind of just is at the end of the day. Except it is far more restrictive than Pokemon Showdown is, because on Pokemon Showdown, again, not that I ever play the game because I don't. On Pokemon Showdown, you have access to everything, like everything that ever existed in a Pokemon game ever is available on Showdown. um, but that is a far cry from what is the case on Pokemon Champions, obviously. But at the end of the day, it is designed really as just a battle simulator, and nothing more. So it doesn't have that element of, for lack of better word, I'll say element of heart that the mainline Pokemon games have, where you can catch your Pokemon, breed them, train them up. There's more variety of gameplay. There's a ton more variety of gameplay in your average mainline Pokemon game than in this, obviously. Aside from the battle simulations, the only thing we really get is we get a couple of cutscenes, um, a little bit of dialogue, a couple new characters, but outside of that, we don't really get much of anything from this game. So that is a pretty big negative for me, because while I do live for the competitive scene of Pokemon, at the same time, all that stuff is very important to the identity of the franchise of Pokemon as well, and all of that is either severely lacking or completely absent in this game. So, um, not a big fan of that, for sure. So, um, so yeah, I will say, overall, I am not super happy with this game, and I'm also not super happy with where this kind of leaves the Pokemon franchise at this point in time. So, I want to talk a little bit about that, because obviously we all know. It was announced quite some time ago as well that Generation 10 Pokemon Winds and Waves is going to be released, although the release date for Generation 10 is far, far into the future at this point. So I believe the projected um, release date for the game is at this point September of 2027. So we are at this point, I want to say we're about 14, 15 months away from the release of this game at this point. So that kind of in and of itself makes Pokemon Champions all the worse, in my opinion, because this game, I'll be honest with you guys, like, to me, this game always felt like a stopgap between Scarlet and Violet and Generation 10, which we now know is Winds and Waves. So this game always felt like a stopgap to me for that, between those two things. But now we know that the gap is really, really big. Unfortunately, the gap is enormous. So from April of 2026, when Pokemon Champions released, until September of 2027, when Pokemon Winds and Waves is scheduled to be released. That is a, what, 17-month gap there. So that is a large, large, large amount of time for the only thing we have to be this, unfortunately, to be basically an officially licensed version of Pokemon Showdown. Um, so yeah, I'm not digging that at all. Um, I feel like the Pokemon franchise would have been far better served had it essentially combine Pokemon Champions with Pokemon Legends ZA. I feel like that would have been the move, in my opinion, is if those two games basically were fused into one game, and you could have incorporated like the battle mechanics from Champions with kind of the story aspect from Legends ZA. I feel like that really would have been the move to me, and then you wouldn't have to deal with this awkward scenario where, because of the limited decks in Pokemon Champions, there are quite a few new Mega Evolutions that debuted in Pokemon Legends ZA that are not in Pokemon Champions. Even after the update we just had a week or two ago, we had our first Pokemon Champions update that brought back, I think the number I saw was about 40 Pokemon to the game, and a lot of those, most of them, were centered around Mega Evolutions that had not been in the game. So, well, that's all well and good, and I can safely say I think we would expect to get even more um, updates to the game, even more new Pokemon added back to the game. Um, I feel like it's not going to change the nature of the game. So it is cool to get, more Pokemon back, to see, these new Mega Evolutions in competitive mode. Like I said, some of them very broken, I can say from experience. Um, but it's it is I do think the franchise would have been far better served, in my opinion, of kind of like smashing those two games together and creating like one really solid game that could have been like still kind of a spin-off, still kind of a stopgap between Generation 9 and Generation 10. So yeah, that's not what happened, obviously. So yeah, that is like I said, it kind of leaves the Pokemon franchise in a very strange state. So you guys know that for a long time, after the release of, or after I should say, the release of the last DLC for Scarlet and Violet, when the game was just kind of like coasting with no new content being added, I for a long time felt like the game was in its twilight era, that it just kind of was getting ready to be phased out, and it was kind of very slowly being kind of phased out until we got Legends ZA back in October of 25, which at this point is what, like 8 months ago at this point, I want to say. Um, and so we got that, and that really wasn't like a stopgap for between Scarlet and Violet and Generation 10, because that didn't have PvP. Much like the other Legends spin-off games didn't. And then we get Pokemon Champions, which is like, it does have PvP, but it doesn't have 6v6, and it has a limited dex, and it's kind of strange. Like I said, it's I know I've said this a few times, but I will say it again because I like the line. It's basically just an officially licensed Pokemon Showdown, um, and so that's not really a very good stopgap either, to get us to wins and waves. So I don't know. I feel very strange. The state of things now, and maybe I'll do like another episode of the Captain's Table in the future, where I have one or two guests on to kind of discuss it with me to get different perspectives. But I am very conflicted with how I feel about the direction of like Pokemon right now as a franchise, because it's like the current content that we have to consume is not very good, in my opinion. Like, it's not awful, but it's not great. And like, even it's strange for me, because like I usually like Pokemon, as someone who's a Gen 1er, as they say. um Pokemon is always a franchise that's always invoked a very strong reaction from me, usually positive, but sometimes negative as well. Um, but I can honestly say Pokemon Champions is kind of like the first game that just gets like a mid reaction from me. It gets like it's just feels very sterile. Like I said, it doesn't have any heart to it. It doesn't have like any anything special about it to me. It's just a battle simulator, and it's a weird feeling, because like I don't hate it, but I don't like it either. So I don't know. It's weird. You guys can let me know in the comments how you feel about Pokemon Champions and kind of where we are in the Pokemon game cycle at this point. But it's a strange spot to be in, I think. And I still, after all this time, I still don't quite know what to make of it. But yeah, that is kind of where it is. So that kind of begs the question, of course. What is with all that said, what is to become of the future of the Captain B-Nard YouTube channel with the strange state of Pokemon? Well, um, as you guys know, I have been playing Champions. I have been recording and uploading some Wi-Fi battles. I'm still trying to get used to, because I am a singles battler for the most part, although I do dabble in doubles sometimes. I am trying to get used to the 3v3 singles scene, which is kind of difficult and not nearly as fun as the 6v6 singles. Um, but I am, dabbling with doubles as well, so maybe I'll upload some doubles content. That's another thing you guys can let me know in the comments if you uh, would like to see me continue to do more the singles games on Champions, or if you want to see me do some doubles games on Champions. Um, but it's strange because like I don't necessarily want to go back to Scarlet and Violet or BDSP or Sword and Shield to try and get singles battles 6v6. But I also don't want to just like exclusively play doubles either. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I want to do as far as content goes. That's probably why I haven't been pumping content like super frequently on Champions, just because like the game is, for all the reasons that I've mentioned, the game is very mid to me. Um, and I don't know, like I'm not going to say I don't enjoy playing the game, because I do enjoy it to a point, but the game is as fun as it can be. It can be equally as frustrating, and I can't probably say that for any other Pokemon game that I've played. Certainly not in recent memory. Um, Another thing I will mention, this is another negative. I can't believe I almost forgot to mention this. Um, but I feel like the RNG on Pokemon Champions is absolute garbage. It is absolute garbage. And I've heard a lot of anecdotal evidence from a lot of players about this. The the amount of times that I see crits, that I see secondary effects like flinches and you know paralysis, that kind of thing. The amount of like 80 and 90 accuracy moves that miss, like it is off the charts on this game. I swear. Like I have seen, it's they say that the percentages are no different on this game than they were on like Scarlet and Violet, for example. But in the couple of months that I've been playing Pokemon Champions, I have personally observed so many more hacks than I probably have on Scarlet and Violet in the last like year, I want to say. So it is a weird feeling. It's very strange, and I know it's only anecdotal, but the strange thing about it as well is that those hacks, when they occur, they mean so much more in like 3v3 or 4v4 scenarios than they do in the 6v6 scenarios. And maybe that's why I'm taking more notice of them, is because if you're doing a 3v3 singles game, it really only takes like one miss or one crit and it swings the entire game. And I can tell you from personal experience, for me, like I can't tell you how many times I've been playing this game and I get crit and lose and I would have won otherwise, or I miss and I lose and I would have won otherwise, or vice versa. I crit the opponent and I would have lost if not for that crit, or my opponent misses a move and again I would have lost if not for them missing. So it's, I don't know, the RNG is on this game is really really weird, and it seems like the percentages are not accurate. I'm just going to say that from anecdotal evidence that percentages do not seem accurate, um, but yeah, it's a strange spot to be in for Pokemon, and you know, I'm not sure where to go from here. I'm kind of like stuck a little bit because I am a lifelong Pokemon fan. I have always and will always be a Pokemon fan. I love the game and the franchise for what it is. It's brought me a lot of fun and a lot of joy throughout my life. Um, but I am not crazy about what's going on now, and I'm not sure like how much. I'm not sure how much I want to do with it. I know I still want to do content with it, but it's just a very confusing time for me here in Pokemon, I will say. So, yeah, I think that's a good place to leave it. Those are my thoughts in a nutshell. I wanted to do this video a little bit ago, but I finally got around to doing it now. I've been slacking a little bit the past couple of weeks with content, but I was able to finally put this together today. And I did just want to get my thoughts out there for you guys in case you were wondering. As someone who is a lifelong Pokemon fan and gamer, and someone who does YouTube almost exclusively Pokemon content, I usually try to get my opinion on the games that I play out to you guys. So yeah, I just finally got around to doing it. So I think, yeah, and that's probably the biggest reason that it took me a little bit longer to get around to doing it, is because I genuinely didn't, and still to an extent don't know how I feel about the game. But I guess that is an opinion in and of itself. If the opinion is that you don't quite know how you feel about something, then that is an opinion. So, and that is kind of the overarching opinion that I have when it comes to this game. So, but yeah, that is going to do it for this one. So I will say thanks for watching again, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, and/or subscribe if you did enjoy, and stay tuned for more new videos in the future. Like I said, I am going to continue to do competitive Wi-Fi battles on Champions. Here and there, try to get them out on a more regular basis, and as well, perhaps I will be doing more episodes of the Captain's Table, talking about other various things, including um, the state that Pokemon is at right now. So, stay tuned for all of that. That is it. And of course, we will see you next time.